What we're going to be talking about could be just a life-saving and life-altering, life-changing message. You're going to actually hear me praise the medical community, which I don't often do, but I definitely want to do tonight, because really what this article, I saw it on Facebook. Again, this article comes back from 2015. The article is titled, let me get my, my notes out of the way here. I might get back with them later, but there's a single nerve that connects all of your vital organs, and it might just be the future of medicine. Now, the reality is that's not exactly correct. I always have to be very nitpicky and very precise in the way I like to communicate in the details of information to help people. They're talking primarily about the vagus nerve, vagal nerve tone, and how the vagus nerve regulates immunological or immune system function. And this article is talking primarily about rheumatoid arthritis. If you take a look through my YouTube page and you take a look at some of the testimonies we have some phenomenal testimonies of, even I have one out there of a mother who literally the rheumatoid arthritis took hold of her, flared up in a moment, and locked her hands up, and she literally had to dial her cell phone with her knuckles, yet her infant's laying on the changing table the entire time, had to call a neighbor to come over and help her get her baby changed and then off the changing table because she couldn't even open her hands.
I've had to call friends to come just help me function, to get my kids on the changing table, or I'd get my son up there, and he's a little heavy, and I couldn't, I didn't have the hand strength to pick him up off the table, and I had to call a friend to come. Oh. As I started getting adjusted, I can get out of bed, I can eat breakfast, I can get dressed, take my dogs for a walk, play with my kids in the floor. I don't need my medication anymore. I would suggest, if you have RA or any kind of autoimmune pain issue that you're dealing with, I would strongly suggest you call Dr. Dale and get to his office and get healed, because you can, and it works.
And that mom, I am so pleased, and I praise God for all of it. You know, the fact that that mom right now has completely healed and done just phenomenal things, that, you know, just hiking and walking and exploring and just, you know, just having fun with her and her husband, her family, and is completely healed of rheumatoid arthritis. And what we did in my clinic was focus on the area where there was impingement and there was pressure and distortion taking place because of upper cervical misalignments to her spine. That distortion and that misalignment of her spine was suppressing the ability for her vagus nerve to transmit and communicate the signals back and forth from her brain to her body, and from her body up to her brain. You know, what I want to do first is I just want to kind of talk about, you know, so when they say this, that's what I was getting at there, you know, before I went in that testimony. But there's a single nerve that connects all your vital organs. The vagus nerve doesn't connect to every single one of your vital organs. It goes up to about 2/3 the descending colon, so it goes down into your lower colon, but not all the way down into the sigmoid colon, into the reproductive organs, and below that point. That is supplied parasympathetically through the vagal nerve, or through the, I'm sorry, not the vagal nerves, but through the sacral nerves. So sacral plexus, that's your parasympathetic nerve system, parasympathetic nervous system for your reproductive organs, your descending, your colon, your sigmoid colon, for you to flush your bowels. You have to have proper sacral alignment. So if you're looking at healing things down in that region, parasympathetic supply for the vagus nerve is going to get just above that point. You want to look at the sacrum misalignment. So you take a form of type of an autoimmune type responses, pro-inflammatory, massive inflammation. You take something like endometriosis. So I've treated multiple women over the years that have been dealing with endometriosis, even some with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, just irregular cell growth in the reproductive region, and then massive inflammation in their reproductive area. So I've got one testimony here that I love to share. Husband and wife trying for 3 years to try and get pregnant. wife dealing with endometriosis, massive inflammation there. Why can't the body control that inflammation? That's what we're kind of discussing tonight. And this article, this neurosurgeon called the Nerve Hunter, this man really paints a picture to validate and verify what chiropractors have been saying for over 100 years. And I can't even say that chiropractic should take credit for this. In fact, we should be saying that Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, the man who said, let food be thy medicine, let medicine thy food, and he also said, look well to the spine for the cause and prevention of all disease. So that man right there, Hippocrates, all the way back then, was looking at the spine and spinal alignment. And in fact, if you look at biblical references, I wish I was a biblical scholar, would be able to reference it 100%. But the reality is, in the Bible somewhere it does say, and in the Bible somewhere it does say exactly what I'm saying. There was actually a prophet that once said, somewhere in the Bible it's written, and then he basically quoted what Jesus had once said. But there was a pastor that told me that because I was like, I don't know where it says it, but it says it somewhere. And he's like, you know what? That's actually a quote in the Bible that they reference that exact. So even prophets weren't biblical scholars to be able to say this is the exact verse. But I wish I was that great at memorizing the Bible. Not yet. Need to read a lot more. Anyways, off track there. But what I'm saying here is even in the Bible, it speaks of the body of Christ and how the head held fast to the neck and to the body, knit together and moves with a movement that is energizing and is generating, basically, it energizes the brain. So it's literally like the movement of the body of Christ, the body being the church. So, held fast. Our head must be held fast to our body through our joints and our ligaments, but it must move. So the body of Christ must move throughout this world spreading the word of God, okay? But God would never use, so what I'm getting at there is God, in the Bible, before Hippocrates, actually Hippocrates would be, BC, before Christ, but the reality is, in the Bible is already talking about this stuff, and the Bible was, just, God would never use a false statement to teach a truth. So when I read that verse one time, I was literally blown away. I'm like, that is such a neurologist, neuroanatomy statement. I'm like, that is chiropractic. When we talk about chiropractic, it's not just manipulate the spine and mobilize it. What I want to do with the spine is I want to get it mechanically working exactly the way it should be. I want it in the proper alignment, so that I take any stress or pressure off the nervous system, off the spinal cord, for the brain and the body to communicate back and forth the way it was supposed to. And I want all the segments of the spine moving properly, the proper alignment, the proper mechanics, because that movement is what feeds the brain through electrical generation for the brain to have the energy necessary to send back and transmit signals to run and regulate everything. So the spine is kind of like an alternator for your car. Your spine must move properly, and ideally you want it in the best structural position, so in basically the best structural alignment possible, as to allow for the best possible neurological communication and regulation of all systems in your body, including your nervous system. So the husband and wife trying to get pregnant for years with endometriosis and PCOS, we adjusted, we worked on her lower back. She had severe misalignments in her lower back, primarily between her sacrum, her SI joints, and her lower lumbar spine. That area being out of alignment started to lock up on her, and that improper electrical generation and energy that is generated through the proper mechanics and movement of that region of her spine was downregulating the nervous system supply through the parasympathetic system that downregulates inflammation. And by doing so, that inflammation, her body was excessively generating inflammation in the body, in the reproductive region, thus not allowing her to conceive, her and her husband to have a child. It took us 3 months working on her spine, on her lumbar spine, her lower back. We worked on the whole spine because I wanted it as best possible alignment everywhere, not just focusing on one area, but we worked on her lower back. That was a primary region of misalignment and subluxation for her. By correction of those subluxations, guys, she now has a baby boy, and I believe they're on to their second child now. It was 3 months after 3 years of infertility work and no success and no reversal. They tried the diabetes medications for the PCOS, that didn't work. Anti-inflammatory drugs, that didn't work. but release of pressure, tension, stress, improper mechanics, not enough movement, all these different factors in her spine. By the release and correction of all of that, it allowed for the proper parasympathetic nervous system supply to the region of her body most important for her to conceive a reproductive system. It was allowing for the downregulation of that inflammation. Her body healed, PCOS completely disappeared, her endometriosis completely healed, normal cycles again. Her cycles weren't as severe and painful and excruciating as she used to have them. You know what? And ladies, I'm sure even a normal cycle is somewhat not so much fun. I don't know, I'm a man, so, and women, you are so much tougher than all of us guys. I know that. But just awesome, awesome stuff. So that's what I want to talk about tonight. You know, this is something that I believe, you know, I need to do more of. I need to bring the light into a dark you know, world sometimes. I oftentimes curse the darkness. I hate the way medicine's being used to kind of shackle or burden somebody, whether it be financially or constrain them to the need for the reliance on a medication. And what I want to do with this article is talk about how these neurosurgeons, how this neurosurgeon really, they're on the right path. They're admitting that the nervous system is the central coordinator of health. Chiropractic has been saying that for over 100 years now. I'm just praying that this type of information brings about, hey, we don't need to implant an electrical device. That's what they're talking about. They're saying that the vagal tone, the nervous system, the vagus nerve isn't able to transmit and generate enough energy. They're just like, well, you know, they're kind of saying that some people just aren't born with enough vagal nerve stimulation and energy. And some vagus's nerves aren't, it's a wire. That's what it is. It's a wire. They're almost separating the vagus nerve out from the body. The vagal nerve tone is generated by many different factors, all right? But they're separating it out, and what they want to do is implant electrical devices into their person's neck like a pacemaker. These are bioelectronics set to be supposed to be, several years ago, there's another article, they said that bioelectronics is set to be the next big wave in medicine, being able to treat kidney disorders, depression, fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes. But the reality is, even if you hook up a bioelectronic device to your pancreas, the reality is your brain is signaling such specific and intricate details through the transmission of that signal that your brain and your nervous system communicating back and forth is so detailed that there will never be a human device that can be hooked up to give you the perfect nerve tone necessary for 100% best function, best healing. But I'll tell you, again, I'm praising these neurosurgeons because they do. They have some testimonies in here. They have this gymnast, you know, pictured on the screen. Maria, she was a gymnast in the Netherlands, and then she was a retired gymnast. And the reality is, when I think about it, I'm like, why aren't all gymnasts under chiropractic care right now? Think how many falls and tumbles. You know, I've got an instructor. She owns a gym for gymnasts and trains gymnasts, elite gymnasts in this region. I can't mention her name. But she comes in, gets adjusted. We've been helping her out with her injuries. She dealt with inflammation. She dealt with back pain. She dealt with neck pain. She dealt with migraine headaches. She developed, you know, all kinds of things. But she was like this amazing athlete, still is this great instructor. But even like this gymnast, an Olympic gymnast, then turned into, because of her injuries to her spine that weren't properly taken care of. This is what I want to see. I want to see people understanding how vitally important it is for their spines to be in the proper alignment, and any structural or spinal injury that takes place in these young girls. You know, I'm never going to say I don't want my little Magnolia to become an Olympic gymnast, but you know what? I'm going to be right there on the sidelines every single time she competes if she ever decides to do that, getting her adjusted. I used to play rugby. Am I going to say to my son, Amos, you're not allowed to play a gentleman's sport? Rugby is a gentleman's sport, folks. I don't know if you all know that or not, you know. But I used to play, I loved it. I loved rugby. You know, I tore up my shoulders. I did all kinds of stupid stuff, you know, tore my body up. But it was a blast. I made some great friends, some of my best friends. in my life have been the guys that I played rugby with. You know, so I never want to have to say to my son, like, no, you could injure your spine if you go out and play rugby. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be like, hey, man, tackle like this. Don't lead with your head, you know what? And don't lead with your shoulders. Make sure you tackle properly, and then do what you can to kind of protect yourself from other people. Be the quick guy out there, really, you know, like a mongoose out there on the field, so you can jump out of the way and stuff. And just let me adjust you, you know, before the game, middle of the game, after the game, to try and help you recover from any type of spinal injury. So I hope you guys are getting something out of this. I always want to kind of take a peek at our online friends. Everybody, I appreciate you being on. I see we got quite a few people on tonight. Make sure that you've gone through. I know that we tried to post it in a previous post about how to get the alerts, because I guess Facebook has changed some of their algorithms, so they're not showing you our live videos until sometimes it's too late. So just going through here. Lou, I appreciate you being on. I always see that you're a strong friend, so I appreciate that. Christy, appreciate it. I've seen you on many times. I appreciate it. Kay Workman, awesome. I'm seeing some. Haley, awesome. You know, Becky, appreciate you being on. Rona, love seeing you on here as well. And I really have to say sorry if I pronounce your name wrong again, because I really am bad at pronunciation. And so Suzanne B, love the shirt, she says. I appreciate that. Yeah, you like that? I do too. When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes duty. You know, if you guys want to support us, I appreciate that. I appreciate if you want it. What is it, $19, $19.99? I don't know what it is. It's like $20 basically, $20. All right, get a shirt. I know that sometimes these shirts, but they're that cool, light, silky material, you know, so you actually enjoy, you can work out in them. But you know what? This kind of philosophy is just, you know, it spoke to me. When I was looking through, I saved, quotes from people. We don't even know who the quote was from. Otherwise, we would put his name or her name underneath. But the reality is, when it comes down to it, you know, this is happening in our country. I mean, you want to talk about injustice? Let's talk about all the children right now. All the children in America right now, or even across the world, that are being diagnosed with ADHD, autism, Asperger's, with depression, when they need healing. But our government subsidized insurance will pay for the drugs, but not the things that will help them get well and get healthy. We'll pay for drugs that will literally sedate these children, but it won't pay for the plant-based medicines that could help them. It won't pay for the chiropractic care that could get the child off the depression medications because their brain is inflamed because their spine is out of alignment. You know, it may be the miracle for that child to never need an antipsychotic, antidepressant drug is chiropractic care, but our government subsidized insurance will pay for the drug that the drug companies had to lie about to make it appear safe. And now our children are going into schools because their mind is separated from reality because they're on this psychoactive drug. It's a psychoactive medication. That's what it is. It separates the brain from reality. It causes indifference, which makes it appear that some people with different types of mental mood conditions and struggles, it makes them appear better because they're indifferent. They're not a high, they're not a low, they're just indifferent. But then they just don't care. And God forbid they don't care about their own life and they take their own life. Or God forbid they don't care about anyone else's life. And those emotions that would normally say to a person, this isn't the right thing to do. You have too many people who love you in this world. Don't take your own life. And the emotion wells up and the tears come. And they say, I can't do that. I can't do that. But the drug, because it made them indifferent, says, I just don't feel anymore. Makes them appear better, but they're not better. They're not healed. That's it. That's injustice for us to be paying for that junk, because that doesn't bring about the best opportunity for those children, for those individuals. So to me, resistance against this, demanding better of our government officials, abandoning that medical model and that drug-only model, and going towards real healing things. Well, that's what we got to do. So I appreciate you on. I'm looking through the questions real quick. I'm going to get, how do the sizes run on the shirts? And Stacy, I don't know. No. I don't know how they look on me. This is a large on me, and I'm like a 33 waist. So These actually, I like the way this one fits. It's not too tight. It's not, I don't want to show off too much, especially since I've not been working out after 2 kids. It's a lot harder to stay in physically shape, and I'm sympathetic. It's that sympathy, wait. So, all right, so let's go through this stuff. So I want this, I'm going to go back and forth. This is the article that I'm referencing here. There's a single nerve that connects all of your vital organs, and it might just be the future of medicine. Now, I guess they may have said the vital organs, your heart and lungs, the vital organs that if, God forbid, they were gone, you wouldn't live. Reproductive organs, you might not say are vital, but you need parasympathetic. They're vital for the birth of a child and health there. So this gymnast, former gymnast in the Netherlands, and she says this, I had become so stiff I couldn't stand up. It was a great shock because I'm such an active person. It was rheumatoid arthritis that hit her. She became increasingly disabled over her lifetime, she says. The medical physicians interviewed in this article and the journalists say that rheumatoid arthritis is a common but incurable autoimmune disorder in which the body attacks its own cells. I'll tell you right now, it is curable. It's healable. Medicine wants to patent the word curable. You know what? My patients, Jennifer, Melissa, my patients that need 0 medication, deal with 0 pain and discomfort from the RA that they used to have. Tell them again that it's incurable. No, they can heal because they just have to have restoration, the normal neurological function that enables the proper regulation of the inflammation and proper identification of what is yours and what is not. You want to simplify what an autoimmune condition, because this is what it's about. It's about using the nervous system. Medically, they're using the nervous system or using your own nerve fibers to try and stimulate to downregulate inflammation to enable for less inflammation, less attack of your own cells. But they still have to use many drugs like chemotherapy or cancer drugs to downregulate the immune system, but they're reducing inflammation through neurostimulation. Well, the reality is what's necessary is the proper generation of the neurological supply. That will bring about a cure. Figure out why they can't generate the vagal nerve tone that is necessary. And now we're starting to look at how to heal people, not to make them dependent on a device. Now, granted, again, I'm praising the fact that these people are on less drugs, some of them without any medications, just the neural stimulation. But the reality is what I fear then is if we still use an external device, we never figure out why their vagus nerve wasn't able to generate, we're not precise enough with our electrical devices. Inflammation is necessary for the protection against certain types of infectious illnesses, for protection against cancer, in fact. You need inflammation in the immune system to attack and kill off cancer cells, viruses, bacteria, all these things. But then you need your immune system to be downregulated by your central nervous system through the parasympathetic vagal tone to be able to bring it back into homeostasis. You need increases in inflammation, and then you need a downregulate the inflammation. And that homeostasis, which can only really be done through correction or restoration of a healthy spine, healthy nervous system, that's when we're looking at healing. So the gymnast was given several different medications, including painkillers, cancer drugs, methotrexate, dampen her nervous system, or not her nervous system, but her immune system, biopharmaceuticals to block the production of specific inflammatory proteins. These drugs did the job well enough, at least. They did until one day in 2011 when they stopped working. I was on a holiday with my family. This is the gymnast speaking here, Maria. She was on a holiday. Arthritis suddenly became terrible, and I couldn't walk. My daughter-in-law had to wash me. She was then given another cancer drug, one that targeted the white blood cells. It helped, but she was nervous about relying on a drug for long term. Then come about this nerve hunter, Kevin Tracey, a neurosurgeon in New York. You know, I got to praise the man because he's very intelligent at looking at the nervous system. Now, the way the man became the quote-unquote nerve hunter, nicknamed the nerve hunter, was because his mother died from a brain tumor when he was 5 years old. It was a very sudden and unexpected. And I learned from that experience that the brain nerves are responsible for health. Thank you, Jesus, that even though in a tragedy, this man was able to see something good from it, and he was able to realize what we chiropractors have been begging and pleading and screaming, and you can understand sometimes my frustration. Because in my brain right now, I want to say, because I want to look at these types of studies here, sympathetic nervous system. There's a veterinarian, Royal Veterinary College, a college at Royal College of London, England. This was published in August 22nd, 1973. After a chemical sympathectomy, previously tumor-resistant tissues became receptive to grafts of tumors. I'm going to spell it out. I'm going to break that down. What they found in this animal study, after chemical sympathectomy, previously tumor-resistant tissues. Anthony, can you see the chart? What's that?
Yes.
All right. So to kind of simplify it, what they did is because we knew way back when that your brain is the master coordinator of every single system, every single function, your immune system, your hormones, everything is coordinated by your nervous system or by your brain, spinal cord, brain stem, and that transmission of signals go down your spinal cord over your nerves. So what they did in this animal study back, now his mom, I don't know, maybe his mom, so I might not be referencing a study that was early enough to save his mom's life, but the reality is, I wish, back in 1973, when they saw this evidence in animal studies, they would have been like, every single patient diagnosed with cancer needs to be under chiropractic care right now. That's what they should have been saying, because chiropractors have been seeing miracles occur when we take pressure, stress off the spine, off the nervous system, restore biomechanics, restore alignment, and we enable brain-to-body communication to be in its proper tone. So what they were doing in this animal study, basically what they were doing is they were coming in and they would first cut the animals open, graft tumors into their body, sew the animal back up. They didn't do anything to the spine at the first go-around, and they watched what happened. Well, they'd go back in, they'd do their scans, tests. Cancer was nowhere to be found after a while. The body killed the cancer, destroyed it, removed it. The nervous system recognized improperly growing cells within that animal's body and said, that's not us, that's not the way they're supposed to function, I'm not doing that, now I want the immune system to come in and kill it off. And that coordination of the nervous system, or the immune system, by the nervous system killed the cancer cells. So what they do next in the step, what they mean by the previously tumor-resistant, so previously tumors, a region of the animal's body was resistant to tumors and cancer because it had proper communication from the brain to that region of the body, the communication down the central nervous system over the pathway of the nerves. So what they then did is they cut the animal open, again, and they cut the animal open here at the nerves, and they dripped chemicals on their nerves. By dripping and down-regulating the proper signals from the brain to that region of the body, a chemical sympathectomy removes something from the body, and an ectomy is removing a tonsillectomy, remove the tonsils. And ladies, I'm going to apologize ahead of time for this horrible joke. Maybe I shouldn't even say it. But the reality is, you want to know where they said, why they called it a hysterectomy? Where's the hyster word come from? Anybody know? Anybody know what hysterectomy, why they called it originally a hysterectomy? If women's rights want to fight for something, I think they should fight to change the word and terminology of a hysterectomy because it's demeaning to women. Because what medical physicians way back in the day thought they could do is go in and remove the female reproductive organs, calling it a hysterectomy because they said they could remove the hysteria of a woman. That was the original reason they called it a hysterectomy, because these are not, this organ is not a hyster anything. Do you follow me? This is not a hyster. Hysteria, they thought, could be removed from women by removing the reproductive system. They have ovaries, and they have a uterus. They don't have a hyster anything. But they thought, so that was like just, that's demeaning. Like that was just wrong, but medicine always kept that name, so we should change that name to what it really is. But so that's a sympathetic, so for a sympathectomy example purposes, I apologize. That would be, like that's what they thought, they could remove the hysteria from the woman. That was the bad joke that I didn't really tell. I actually explained it, so luckily, hopefully I didn't insult any women. And I saw some people get off the line there real quick, and I apologize that was, but I'm just saying that like that name should be changed. So, but that's the original name. So a sympathectomy, an ectomy, remove the central nervous system communication by dampening the nerve signals. So by doing that, what they did was after they did that, they basically broke down the communication from the brain to the body in that region. Then they cut the animal open again. They implanted cancer cells into that region of the body, and now those previously tumor-resistant tissues were receptive to grafts of tumors, and cancer continued to grow because the central nervous system was unable to communicate and see that improperly growing tissue was there. It wasn't able to coordinate the immune system to attack those cells and kill that cancer cells off. Now, am I saying that chiropractic care is all that is necessary to remove anybody from ever getting cancer, remove all causes? No, we know that GMO foods, we know that certain chemicals, injections, syringes that are injected to our children, we know that viruses that smolder in our system are causing chronic damage to our body. All right, we know that chemical toxins we're ingesting, we know that smoking and asbestos, they're all causes of cancer. We know that. But you know what? Everybody's seen it. We see the person that seems to do everything in their life healthy. They're exercising every day, they're physically fit, they're eating organic diet, and they get the cancer. How does that happen? Why? If they're missing the one missing link, which was the central nervous system communication, then it took less toxins, less exposure in this world for those chemicals to bring about the cancer. If the central nervous system was functioning at a higher level, that small amount of toxin wouldn't have a detrimental effect to allow for cancer to grow. So it's a combination. Now, there's a certain point in time where we can adjust somebody, they have the perfect, healthiest nervous system in the world, and they smoke massive amounts of cigarettes. They could eventually poison themselves and overrun the capacity of the nervous system to heal the body. That's a possibility. But we see people that did everything right, and they're the ones with cancer. And we see somebody who does everything wrong, smokes a pack of cigarettes every single day, bacon cheeseburgers, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Well, I don't think McDonald's ever actually provides that for breakfast, but so then they get the Egg McMuffin and biscuit, which is still junk. And massive sodas, sugars, chemicals, yet they never get cancer. They live till they're like 90-some years old and then die of some freak accident. And you're like, how does the healthy person, the person doing everything right, get cancer, but the really unhealthy lifestyle person never get cancer? Well, it comes down to central nervous system function. It's a major key component that must be integrated into everybody's health care. If we really want to care about creating the best opportunity for people to live a healthy, functioning, disease-free or disease-resistant life, I believe chiropractic's got to be a part of it. So Kevin Tracey, the neurosurgeon, that's how his mom died. I wish his mom could have known. I wish he could have known about this. I get frustrated the fact that that study on animals was done in 1973, yet still nothing has been done about it, except for these electrical devices, though tens of thousands of dollars for these electrical devices. So they're going that direction to learn how to hack or use the nervous system. But it's like, why don't we at least try chiropractic on every single patient before we resort to implanting an electrical device? All right, so he drove his decision to become a neurosurgeon, a brain surgeon, suddenly suffered severe inflammation. This patient that suffered severe inflammation was a little 11-month-old baby girl with Janice, who died in his arms. They've done animal studies, and we've had it. Why aren't we implementing chiropractic care to adjust the atlas vertebra? We know it helps save lives in pneumonia. We have the osteopathic manipulative studies. Osteopaths manipulate the spine. Chiropractors adjust the spine with specificity. I'm specific with my adjustments, and I hope if you see a chiropractor, you find one that is very specific with their adjustments. But what I'm saying here is, why aren't we implementing this right here? Babies dying of sepsis. Babies dying of massive infection, inflammatory conditions. An atlas adjustment may be all it takes to remove interference because that baby was subluxated on the way through the birth canal or during the birth process, forceps delivery, pulling on the neck, pulling on the head, vacuum extraction, all ways to misalign the spine at birth. Or maybe baby, mom's pelvis was out of alignment, baby was stuck in one position, pushing their head out of alignment, and they had to be stuck in that womb for a long period of time, and that caused that jamming of their atlas and their upper cervical spine, which would downregulate the central nervous system's ability to generate proper electrical tone through the vagus nerve. Thus, when the baby was born exposed to some sort of pathogen or injected with a vaccine, and massive inflammation ensued, but the vagus nerve couldn't transmit those signals to downregulate that inflammation, so it had overexpression and inflammation took the baby's life. Why aren't we checking every single baby at birth? That's what I want to ask, because I believe it would save thousands of lives. I, in fact, know it would. It's not about belief, it's I know it would. I just beg and plead for us to do this. I know that I get frustrated sometimes, folks, but I get frustrated because it's lives that are being lost and suffering that's taking place when it doesn't need to. If we would just look at doing what's best for people, not as what's best for profits. If the system would change to a heart of serving, not a heart of serving its investors like the big pharma is doing, think of the world we live in right now. It says here, communication between the immune system specialist cells, the immune system's specialist cells in the organs and bloodstream, and the electrical connection of the nervous system had been considered impossible. See, doctors, medical physicians, chiropractors are saying this for over 100 years, yet medical physicians in the last 10, 20 years finally are starting to admit your central nervous system is in regulation and control of your immune system. They used to say it was impossible. Studies, they actually cut the vagus nerve, watch massive inflammation, infection, and illnesses take place. A second test was done to stimulate electrical stimulation to the vagus nerve without any drug system, and that actually was able to downregulate inflammation in internal organ systems. That's what we did, and that was the breakthrough experiment, this neurosurgeon says. He says the vagus nerve is the Latin word for wandering. It is indeed the bundle. I'm reading from this because I want you to see neurosurgeons at Harvard University flat out saying, guess what? Your central nervous system is the key component that is necessary for the proper regulation of your immune system, and it could heal your body. You could heal yourself. And see, that's what the beauty is. They're going to put, and people are going to thank an electrical device. You know what I'm going to thank and what my patients, I want them to thank when I'm done adjusting them? I pray, and I want my patients to be watching this right now. If you're sitting in my office doing your warm-up exercises, because this is going to be a future projection into what I want you to hear out of this. All right, so everybody on Facebook right now live, this is for you and my patients. Folks, I want you to see that what you're going to get with this adjustment, as soon as you get in the bay, and I lay my hands on you, the adjustment isn't a stimulator of your nervous system. It can be. But my primary focus that I want to achieve for you, your family members, your children, is the greatest expression of neurological community, thus the greatest expression of health. Like this neurosurgeon said, folks, he said it. He learned at 5 years old from that experience with his mother dying of a brain tumor that the brain and the nerves are responsible for health. He knows it. What I want is the greatest health your family can ever achieve. I'm not going to be the one to be praised. I want to be able to adjust the spine, remove interference, remove subluxation, remove misalignments, improper biomechanics, restore your spine to the best generated electrical energy that it could possibly be, remove inner pressure or stress on the nerves that are causing distortion and improper communication from your brain to your organ system and from your organ system back to your brain to know what's going on. By removal of that interference, it's under the design that God already did for us. It's God's design that the brain and spinal cord is protected by the skull and by the spinal segments, those bones and those joints. If they're out of alignment, it's going to put stress, pressure, or tension on those nerves. It's going to change the tone of that nervous system, of those individual nerve roots. By changing the tone, it's no longer your body communicating and brain telling your organ systems how to function or your immune system how to function properly. It's a breakdown in your brain's ability to recognize that that body tissue may be yours, the communication is broken down, thus your immune system thinks, and your brain, in fact, thinks because of the distortion in the communication, and it attacks. It's like Central Command military up here, okay? Central Command needs to communicate out to the armed forces in the battlefield. When there's an area, when they want to lob mortars, you better hope that our military, our Central Command can communicate, all right, those guys over there are bad guys. We can see and we can recognize, we got the best communication, we know those are bad guys. Send the fighter jets in, bomb them, get rid of those bad guys. But what if there's a breakdown in communication and we send in the mortars, we shoot off the mortars, we send in the fighter jets, and guess what? Bad communication results in friendly fire. God forbid that ever happens, but the reality is that's what happens in our body, and that's what an autoimmune condition is. We need best communication. So again, going back to this, if I adjust, don't thank me, thank God for the design He gave and He thought of for our nervous system and our spine, and thank God that by laying on our hands to somebody's spine and adjusting and moving those bones back into the proper alignment or restoring proper mechanics, that your nervous system can be restored to 100% communication, or the best communication possible at that stage in your life, in that stage of spinal alignment or deterioration. The best communication means the best health. I hope that makes sense for everybody, because that's just the thing, is it's not. That's what's cool about it. You can thank an electrical device and be dependent on that, or you can be freed from dependency on anything by getting adjusted and remove the interference that's allow your body to heal and regulate and generate the electrical tone. It goes from digestive issues, lung issues, spleen issues, intestinal issues, liver issues, kidneys. I had a patient with 30% function of his kidneys who's going on dialysis. I started adjusting him. No more dialysis necessary. You know, eye contact, those types of things. I had a patient just the other day say he was looking through, his eyes were all blurry, and I adjusted him one time. He comes back in for his second appointment. He's like, my vision is restored. I'm like, awesome. You didn't tell me your vision was blurred. Didn't even know that. Because I wasn't looking for the blurry vision nerve. I was just looking for misalignments, and I correct any misalignments I can find. So they go on, meaning that the vagus nerve reports back to your brain, so your communication back and forth. They said the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for calming organs down after the stress, fight, or flight adrenaline response. Ladies, this may change some of the moms, some of the ladies out there. It may change and save your relationship with you and your husband. It may save and change the relationship with you and your children by giving you the health and the vibrance and the vitality back. The proper hormone regulation back. Watch women go through multiple pregnancies as their head gets stretched forward, because as their chest enlarges and their belly enlarges, they have to shift the position of their upper body. Their torso has to shift to carry that additional weight. By doing so, their head oftentimes will come forward, putting pathological tension on the spinal cord. And if we don't correct that posture, we're leaving tension on their nervous system. That's a form of subluxation and misalignment. And what happens is, now I want to quote from a American Journal of Pain Management from 1994. I've got this sucker memorized. Why? Because it was so beautiful in its way of validating chiropractic care and structural correction chiropractic care, posture corrective chiropractic care, alignment corrective chiropractic care, because it said that posture affects and modulates every physiological function from breathing to hormonal production. Spinal pain, headaches, mood, blood pressure, pulse, and lung capacity are among the functions most easily influenced by posture. Watch women go through multiple pregnancies, her head comes out here, she becomes more stressed. And that sympathetic tone goes up, the parasympathetic system goes down, they become more inflamed, they ache, they pain, they get more tension, headaches, more migraines, maybe because of the inflammation, the ability to regulate the inflammation. Their sex drive goes down, and their stress response is way up. They get more arguments with their husband, more stress in their home, you know, all because of that chronic tension on the spinal cord, because their spine was out of alignment from that. Restoring that alignment, I've had husband and wife come into me and be like, listen, whatever you're doing with correct, thank you, because this has just helped our marriage, helped us out with our relationship, our physical relationship, because she's no longer stressed. Because it's that fight or flight. So what I'm getting at, that fight or flight can be caused by misalignments in the sympathetic region. Can you still see that chart, Anthony? Yeah. So the red nerves are the sympathetic system. the blue nerves from the vagus nerve and the blue nerves from the sacral plexus, the sacrum, those are your parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic, so misalignments in this region will typically cause stress at first before failure. Stress at first will cause an overexpression of the fight or flight nervous system response. And if you're running from a tiger, if you and your husband were running from a tiger, this is what I want to do with this segment. I want to save somebody's relationship and marriage. If you were running from a tiger, you and your husband are like, oh my gosh, this tiger is coming out of here. You're all running, and your husband's like, hey, did you see the football game last night? The wife would probably be like, shut up, the tiger's coming. You're going to get us all killed, and they're going to hear you. And I know that I shouldn't make voices like that, but I mean, I would probably be screaming like that if I was running from a tiger. I wouldn't be talking about football. But I mean, imagine that. So if your body is in a fight or flight scenario, you're high strung, you're stressed already. The husband didn't mean anything by it, and the husband's like, you hate me because I can't even talk to you about a sport or football, and you want to badger me about something, you want to yell at me. You know, if we don't remove what's stressing them out, I can understand why they're high strung, why they respond like that, because it's kind of a defense mechanism. Because you want to fight, you want to go, or you want to run. You're high anxiety. And then there's some people in that fight or flight scenario that they're long enough there that then become depressed, fearing their impending doom, that the tiger's going to catch them. If we never cage that tiger, if we never take the stress off the nervous system and take them out of that fight or flight, guess what? Eventual failure and disease and illness. So I hope that helps everybody. Give me a thumbs up if that does. Kay says, a lot of good information. I appreciate you saying that, Kay. Becky says, since we don't all live near you, how can I find a wild doc? You never get, I mean, there's only one of me. God made me unique. You know, that's all I got to say. But I got friends, I got family members, there's great chiropractors. You know, I'm not the only chiropractor that thinks this way. I might right now getting more and more to be one of the loudest mouths out there. And I really encourage you to seek out one that's advocating as well as serving. Serve and advocating, you know, I love that, and I love the people that are doing that, so I want to support those chiropractors out there. And what I'm asking from the chiropractic community is more of us speak out with the voices we have as loud as we possibly can so that we can change this world. We can get people healthy, we can get people well, we can get them off their medication, we can get them out of bondage to drugs and surgeries and electrical devices, and we can preach and teach to the world that guess what? You don't need an electrical cord hooked up to your nerve. You need the interference and the mechanics restored so that you don't have to be dependent on anything. That's what I want. So people ask me this all the time. There's not a cookie cutter explanation for the best chiropractor. Go in, get to know them, you know, interview them a little bit. Granted, you may have to pay a little money to find out what they're all about and what they do. Maybe just say, hey, I'm looking for a great chiropractor in the community right now. Is it all right if I sit in your waiting room and just kind of observe what's going on? You know, I've got open bays, I've got open areas, my people are doing exercise like it's a gym. You know, that's just the way I like to practice. Great chiropractors that have individual rooms, you know, and do great adjustments, great central nervous system enhancement and correction. So, you know, you just really gotta go and find one. I truly believe that if they're able to explain and understand the nervous system, how your spine is integrated in your nervous system, you know, if they can explain it, bring it down to where you can understand it, then I'll tell you right now, they're probably a better and most likely a better chiropractor for you. You know, if they're just a pain-based clinic, they're serving and doing wonders for people, getting them out of pain, off opioids, off drugs. So there's a phenomenal benefit from that. Nothing negative about that. But you know what? If somebody with rheumatoid arthritis, which I've seen multiple patients, I've seen other chiropractors and not gotten to the point where they were capable of quitting all their drugs. But when they come here and we focus on the neurological aspects and the nervous system specifically, and we look at the spine from a neurological point of view, you know what? That's when I see a lot of the miracles. So hopefully that helps you, Becky. I hope that will help you just, you know, be able to interview or questions, that kind of thing. I believe now there's some chiropractors that say subluxation is an old term. I like to use it because it's a simple explanation of how the body and how spinal misalignments can affect the central nervous system. A subluxation is basically when and there's many different definitions because, you know, definitions are kind of evolving because science evolves a little bit. But to simplify it, a subluxation is a biomechanical misalignment or abnormal function of the segments of your spine that are not going to allow for proper transmission of signals through the nervous system. It's going to cause a distortion or stress on your central nervous system. Now, some of the studies they're looking at right now is you can have misalignments in different regions. You may not have a large difference in tone through an individual nerve root, which was the old way of thinking, like a garden hose, step on a garden hose, not enough water gets out to the garden. Yeah, you may have plants that die now, but that's not exactly the way the central nervous system works. It's more about heart rate variability and adaptability. So I do heart rate variability studies, and that's what's really cool about this article, is they in fact said that every time you breathe in, your heart rate beats faster in order to speed the flow of oxygen around your body. Breathe out and your heart rate slows. This variability is one of the many things that is regulated by the vagus nerve, which is active when you breathe out but suppressed when you breathe in. So the bigger your difference in heart rate when breathing in and out, the higher your vagal tone, and thus the higher your adaptability. So I do heart rate variability studies on my patients, and what's really amazing to me is I can see the stress on a person's nervous system in that machine. It can give us printouts and statements of like, this person is dealing with digestive system issues, this person isn't sleeping well. I'll literally tell back to the patient, this is what I bet you have going on. And they'll be like, holy cow, how did you know I didn't sleep well at night? How did you know that I literally, like, my brain gets wired when I try and lay down, but I'll sleep when I'm sitting up, but I won't sleep when I'm laying down? That's because your mechanics are off. Let's correct all that. So if they know about heart rate variability, I really believe that's like, you know, a lot of the forefront runners in chiropractic, they're really understanding heart rate variability and neurological vagal tone. So, you know, that's some, you know, you just, I need to. I know I do. Becky, I apologize that I need to just get down to the brass tacks of what would be a series of questions that my friends, my family members, people out there would be able to walk in and be like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. These are some questions. Do you do those types of techniques? Do you work with specificity? Do you work with the nervous system? You know. And me too, you know, I looking at the entire body, you know, I really believe that we need proper nervous system function, but I don't want tons of toxins and poisons being injected or ingested or exposure or soaking through your skin. You know, I don't want that, and then your nervous system to have to deal with all that. I want a properly functioning nervous system with no toxins, no exposure to chemicals, and then you got to ingest all the raw materials that your body needs. Your nervous system needs the raw materials to be able to function and heal properly. See, I see so often in different techniques, functional medicine is a really great medical direction or direction the medical community is going in, because they're looking at different aspects of somebody's health, but they're missing one of the central points that will make the biggest difference. I've seen tons and tons of patients go into functional medicine and not get a full restoration or full healing. They have to ingest thousands of times more supplements, thousands of times more isolated compounds of vitamins or minerals because their body just doesn't absorb. But then somebody who eats McDonald's isn't deficient in magnesium. Why not? Well, if the central nervous system and your digestive tract is one of the first areas that your central nervous system, when stressed or when your spine is out of alignment, your digestion will be exposed. And they say that disease starts in the digestive tract. It starts there, but it's not caused there. I know I'm going to just floor some people right now, and some people maybe disagree. When Hippocrates in the Father of Modern Medicine said, "Let food be thy medicine and medicine thy food," he said, "Look well to the spine for the cause and prevention of all disease." All right? And he said that disease starts in the gut. It starts there. It's not caused there. Now, granted, if you just ingest toxins, chemicals, GMOs, if you get an injection of a neurological activating toxin like aluminum adjuvants and you just messes with your neurology, you need to get rid of that. but I want my spine in proper alignment so my liver and kidney are functioning properly and the best communication in the central nervous system so there's no interference there as we begin to detoxify the brain from all those heavy metals and toxins that have been injected or ingested. But the disease will start there in the gut. It's one of the first organ systems that we can start to identify that somebody's body is not functioning properly. The digestive tract has so many functions for producing the right amount of acid, right amount of muscle contraction, enzymes, absorption, all these things are being coordinated. Well, you need the right communication from your central nervous system to know how to digest a grape versus a walnut. You know, you need different enzymes, different acid levels to digest those different foods. So you need lots of communication. So it's very easy for that because it's like multiple things going on at one time in the digestive tract. Absorption, breakdown, movement, all these things. So you can understand why distortions of the communication in the central nervous system would be seen first in the GI tract. And even people with asymptomatic issues, you know, I'll find sometimes that they have that parasympathetic, sympathetic, irregular tone, and as we adjust them, all of a sudden they say, my poop looks different, and it's, you know, normal now, and I'm like, I thought you didn't have any digestive issues. Well, my poop, I normally have like, you know, I get chunks of food in there. It's not fully digested. That system isn't functioning. So they're not able to absorb the nutrition properly. So integrate that in with a functional medicine practitioner. I'll tell you, you'll probably get even better results. I know you'll get better results if you find a good chiropractor. So, and that's just one of those missing links that I felt needed to discuss here real quick. So I just kind of, you know, I guess I haven't really, again, I don't want to just read these articles to you. We got a few minutes. I'm just going to kind of wrap this up. You know, what's really cool is now this gymnast who is literally in a wheelchair, disabled, you know, from the electrical stimulation. She still has to take methotrexate at 68 years of age, but now she's on the lowest dose possible, and she's really got a lot of her life back. Having an electrical device surgically implanted in your neck for the rest of your life is a serious procedure, the neurologist said. Vagal nerve stimulation for a range of chronic debilitating conditions, reiterating all the different varying conditions. I mean, look at this. By restoring proper neurological communication and vagal nerve tone, which chiropractic can do that when specific chiropractic care, vagal nerve stimulation for a range of chronic debilitating conditions, including inflammatory bowel disease, asthma, diabetes, chronic fatigue syndrome, and obesity. Even obesity. Folks, if you're in a fight or flight, the stress hormones are going berserk, you're going to put on all this weight. Your body's thinking maybe you're in a famine. That's why you're stressed. So your body's kind of doing what it needs to do to survive or be able to survive into the future. So it's the right thing if that was the scenario you're in. But if your spine's out of alignment, causing that communication dysfunction and distortion, your brain is interpreting that you're in a famine or you're in a fight or flight. Well, then your body's like, put on weight because we need to survive. We need to save all the energy we possibly can to survive as long as we possibly can. So, they say here, we don't even know yet what a healthy vagal tone looks like. And that's what they're saying. They're saying like we're just looking at ranges. We don't have precise measurements like we do with blood pressure. So that's the issue with these electrical devices. Some people need more tone, some people less. They need to dial it up and down. But even then, they don't need a constant tone. Why does it go up and down? Our vagal tone goes up and down, every breath. A device can't do that. So, I mean, think about this. Tickle and pain use the same nerve fibers, same transmission fibers. So basically like the same wires to communicate to your brain. It's how your brain interprets the tone of those signals. What? Crazy stuff, right? So think about this. An electrical device, though it did this, which I'm praising the surgeons for because they got the woman off drugs. So I'm excited for that. They're recognizing the importance of the spine and nervous system. I wish they would say, let's go through a very specific, neurologically based chiropractic corrective treatment program before we ever resort to implanting an electrical device in your body for the rest of your life. Let's not go there until chiropractic has been exhausted. And don't exhaust your chiropractic care on one, because I've had many physicians see other chiropractors. There's a difference in many chiropractic techniques and we're human beings. I might make a mistake. I don't even want people to, if I can't help them, I want them to go somewhere else and try another chiropractor. Please, don't give up on the possibility of correcting your spine. Maybe my eyes and my brain, and for whatever reason, I just wasn't on that day or that week or that month. You know, I apologize for that. So don't give up then. but it is very clear that the human is one entity. Mind and body are one. It sounds logical, but it's not how we looked at it before. They were wrong. Chiropractic has been screaming this again. I got to reiterate that. This is what Maria said. It's not a miracle. They told me how it works through electrical impulses, but it feels magical, she says. I don't want them to remove it ever. I have my life back. That is awesome. And I really do say this nerve hunter, if he gets a hold of this video, I praise him for his logic, his understanding, his scientific reasoning of how the nervous system would function and downregulate inflammation. But I want to say, hey man, please, please partner with one of the best neurological chiropractors you can. Give me a call. Do something. Let's work on why is the nerve tone different human to human? Why doesn't it change accordingly to the state or environment that person's in and their body needs to function? Because if we just tone down the inflammation, then what we're doing is making way for other illnesses to come about. Because there are illnesses that take inflammation to beat, and there are inflammatory illnesses that take the down regulation through the parasympathetic system to regulate and beat. So you need inflammation to beat certain illnesses, and you need anti-inflammation or low inflammation to beat other illnesses. But we need to be able to turn it up and turn it down. Our central nervous system, our brain, our spine, our nervous system is what needs to do that. So if we restore proper biomechanics of the spine, ending this discussion for the night, this video, it's simple. Your spine, your nervous system is a master control. It plays a huge part in the master control system. Your spine is a generator of electrical energy through its movement like the alternator. That's another neurological aspect I didn't talk too much, but it's restoration of proper alignment and biomechanics of the spine that will enable for the best brain to body communication through the nerve pathways, through the spinal cord from brain to body. That right there, restoration of that would leave a patient in the capacity to heal themselves, never need a drug, never need that electrical stimulator because it was restored here, right there in the nervous system, right in the spine, through the proper alignment, specific adjustment, restoration of the biomechanics, and alignment of the spine.
Well, I think it was around January 2015, right after Christmas. I noticed my right foot was in extreme pain. Like I felt like I'd broke it or something. I wasn't really sure. It was just how much of a pain it was, and so I went in and said, "Yeah, I don't remember doing anything. I remember running on it wrong." So they did some X-rays. Said, "No, you're fine." Sent me home. Okay, wasn't really sure. And then it slowly kind of went to the other foot, and so I was getting more pain in both my toes and my ankles, and so I went back to the doctor, my care provider on post, and he said, you know, we're going to take you to a rheumatologist. You know, he deals with pain, and so we got there, and he did some blood work, and he says, yeah, you're diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. And it says, your levels that you have right now, I'm surprised you're not here with a cane. And the medicine, he told me this is what, and the first thing he says, well, hey, you know, the medicine I have to give you, you're probably gonna be med boarded because it'll lower your immune system so low that you won't be able to deploy. And with my job that I have in the military, if I can't deploy, then there's no need for me being in there. So at first I told him, no, thank you. I'm not gonna take the medicine. I'll bear with it. About a month goes by, and actually I had a flare-up so bad that my wife had to help me get out of bed just to use the bathroom. And so I went, she helped me get on post. They gave me a steroid shot, and I felt good, but the steroid shot was really a temporary fix. And so, and it worked for about 2 weeks, and then it came back again. And I was just constantly tired, I was hurting. So I went back to the rheumatologist, put me on the meds. I was on the verge of getting med boarded, and around May, June time frame, 2015, so 6 months later, I get a recommendation from a mutual friend at work. Says, hey, you know, have you tried going to this chiropractor? I have a recommendation from Dr. Brown. And at that point, I was willing to try anything. I changed my diet. I've just tried everything I possibly could, and I thought, okay, if you're telling me a chiropractor can help me with rheumatoid arthritis, sure, I'll give it a shot. So I came in and I was like probably at an all-time low because like my body hurt, and and I'm looking on the verge, and I have 18 years in, I'm on the verge of being MEB'd. So close to it, you're under 20 years, so not good. And then when he took the x-rays and he showed me where my spine was at and where it should be, that okay, that's, whatever adjustments we got to do, you think it's going to help, I'm willing to try it. And so we did, and I would tell you the first one was absolutely amazing. I could smell better, I could taste better, my hands used to be very red from the flare-ups of the RA. They immediately, the redness went away, the swelling. What Dr. Brown does is, absolutely amazing. So I'm not getting MEB anymore. I'm on my way to the Sergeant Major's Academy. And basically saved my career. I tried to go on post to the chiropractor there, but you're basically a number there. It's just a line that you go through, and they don't really they don't cater specific to what the problem is. I'm not on any medication whatsoever, and I have not seen a rheumatologist. In fact, they wanted me to go back. I said, no, I'm not going to. You can't make me. I don't need your meds. So, I did the PT test, good to go. Everything was fine. So, found physically fit and moving on to bigger, better things. I would say give it a chance. You have to. You owe it to yourself if you're in that much pain. Medicine, in my opinion, for what they have, especially for RA, it just covers it. It doesn't really go to the cure of it. And, it just, I don't know. People with RA know like the medicine that they take, and it's the same thing. You just feel really bloggy and just your muscles hurt. And I don't have that anymore. I'm in the gym every single day now, and I'm getting back after it running, 5-8 miles every other day. So it's good.